folks. Welcome to the Sports Wave Network and Sports Corner with the Conn Man. I am your host, the Conn Man. This is show number 2. This evening's guest will be Mike Patton. Mike Patton is, very knowledgeable individual about the NFL. He specifically the AFC South. Now, folks, you already know I'm the basketball wizard, historian. So, I want Mike to come on because I want to be a little diversified. I don't want to just do basketball. You know what I mean? So having Mike on would be a great change, a little change of things because he's so knowledgeable and he has his own show. And I was watching a little bit last night, and hopefully he comes on again. I think he's scheduled to come on, so hopefully he comes on again. But, we wanted to talk about, obviously the AFC South and the NFL and its structure and its landscape. But a couple other things, which I don't want to say right now. I'm waiting for him to come on because I want to get his feedback. He's the expert. I'm just, I know when to stay in my lane. You know what I mean? But I wanted to talk about some of the aspects that's going on. And then I'm going to bring up something right now. Now, folks, those of you who've been watching my show, you can see that a lot of my shows, are based on mental mindset, mental performance, again, and it's it's gearing its ugly head as we've been witnessing so many suicides. And within the last, I think there was one in the summertime, a football player committed suicide, and we had this one recently, I think a couple of weeks ago, a week ago. And I wanted to talk to Mike about that before we get into the AFC South. That's why I've been having guests on my show because, we as fans, we want to talk about sports and we get into the sports and da. But you know what? Life is so damn important and so short that, just because you may have athletic skills that you were born with, athletes go through, everybody go through hard times, just because they got money. I recall, I can't remember who the athlete was. He was talking about, he got so much money, but I forgot who it was. But he was talking about, it's just paper. Money's just paper. You may be afforded so many things, but at the end of the day, for example, why would you need 10 cars, 10 houses? I don't get it. I don't even have one. But anyway, so dealing with the mental is so crucial, so important that, we have to pay attention. And if you notice all the things that are going on, I'm not political in any way, shape, or form. But if you look around the things that are going on in this country, what's been going on, if you notice with the murders and shootings, just a lot of people have mental problems, mental issues. And sometimes we may not look at the signs. I am no expert. I am no doctor. But I know for a fact that this is becoming a major issue, the mental aspect. And you look around, just watch the news. They'll always relate to, individuals had mental problems or whatever, drug problems, addiction problems, being homeless. The whole gamut. So we have to pay attention to the mental aspect of it. Again, I've texted Mike, and I have texted back and forth, and he had asked me about 7:00. So hopefully he comes on. I don't know what part of the country he's from. So, I got into that situation. I would imagine he's from down south, so that might be an issue as well. We have to reschedule because down south, I forgot what time it is down there. East Coast time is 7:00. I don't know. That might be his time. You know what I mean? As a matter of fact, his show came on kind of late last night. So we're gonna have to we might have to reschedule, folks, because when you're dealing with different time zones and things of that nature. So I don't know. We're gonna have to reschedule. Maybe unless the link was sent to him and hopefully he comes on. If not, I'll stick around a few more minutes. I want to definitely watch the game tonight, even though it's an exhibition game between the Knicks and I think it's Memphis. Minnesota. I think it's one of them. I want to go check that out as well. And NBA again. Before I was talking about the NBA. I'll be real brief because I think again the time difference. I think he might think I'm down south, or what I mean. Uh, Sometimes that becomes an issue when you're dealing with people who are on different live in different parts of the country and they're different time zones. So 7 o'clock East Coast, man, I don't even know what time it is out down south. I'm not even sure. I don't even know. But anyway, so if that becomes an issue, I'm sure I'll be able to get Mike to come back on as well, because I wanted to get his take on Kyron Lacey, individual player who went and played for LSU, had a promising career in the NFL. And again, I don't know. I don't want to put things out there that I don't necessarily know exactly. But there was some talk too that he was accused of a car accident and he was involved with a car. I'm not sure.
Hey, Conn.
Yes.
He's coming on. I just talked to him.
All right, cool. We got my man Mike Patton.
Like you said, the time issue things. He thought it was Central Time, so no, you're good. He should be on in a
few. Well, that's why I have you. I just have you as my producer. Well, folks, we got Mike Patton coming on, so that's a good thing. Again, dealing with different time zones, whatever. But I want to get him his take before we get and talk to him about the AFC South. Again, I want to stress about the mental. That's why I have my guests on talking about the mental. People gotta, train the mind and also be able to try to recognize when things are, maybe someone's having a bad day, but maybe if you feel that it's that important, maybe you should. I'm not saying call the cops or anything, but maybe call, or maybe they may need help, or maybe you've seen the signs, but you kind of wait till it's after the fact, and that could be such a debilitating issue. So while we're waiting for Mike, I want to get his take on that, and also, the NFL situation. There's some things going on in the NFL that I want to talk about. Again, I want to pick his brain because I am the basketball guy. I am not the football guy. Although I pay attention, I watch, keep up with the news, keep up what's going on. But he has his own show, and he's doing the damn thing. And I'm waiting for him to come on, and we'll talk about that as well. I want to get his take on it. And, like I said, be a sponge and take in all the information he has. And he's really talks about the AFC South. So, we're going to kick it. We're going to talk about some NFL. I'm learning about the NFL. I mean, a little bit. I kind of know. I go back since Cowboys when they had Roger Staubach and all them guys, Bob Hayes and all that stuff. That's when Dallas was my team, by the way. And so I follow football. I have a little something. Nowhere near the knowledge that I have on basketball, because I've been following that since I was 12. So, of course, I have no problem talking with anyone in the country about NBA or basketball and itself. But football, I take a back seat and stay in my lane. But that's why I kind of wanted Mike on. I didn't want people just to know all he does is talk about basketball, which kind of has been the truth. You know what I mean? That's all. I'm a basketball referee. I played high school, college. You know what I mean? Everything's been basketball. So that's been kind of my life. But it's been pretty good to me. I've had the experience of having a lot of people on my show. Well, folks, here we go. We got my man, Mike Patton, in the house.
Give me 1 sec. I got to figure out what's going on my headphones.
Okay. While Mike's getting his head together,
give me 1 second.
I was talking about certain situations, and once he gets his headphones and everything straight, we're gonna kick it a little bit. I want to get his take on a couple of things, and we'll see what's going on. But again, Mike has his own show, and I was checking it out. I don't know, about a week or two ago, and I wanted him to come on the show to give me some knowledge. You know what I mean? Give me some knowledge about football and his take, because he's been covering the AFC South, and right now, I mean, he's very knowledgeable, and I think he's going to be an exceptional guest, and waiting for him to get his head together. Again, when you're dealing with the computer stuff, we've been through it. I know. So, what's important is that people take the time out of their day to come and do this show. And sometimes people are so busy in their own lives and, with their own schedules that, they really don't want to take the time to do other podcasts because they got their own. But, one thing about me, I have no, I guess, list. I just go whatever's on the top of my head and I go from there. I don't have any preconceived notions or have anything that I just go whatever is on my mind. And I think that I ask questions that people who may not have the knowledge as my guests would have to see what kind of information they got. But hopefully Mike comes on. Again, he's very knowledgeable with the NFL. I've been kind of following him a little bit. He has his own show. And I think he's going to be a good guest once we get him on. Right now, he's trying to work things out with just like we had one with Poppy Pierce, who was my guest recent a little while ago on show number 1. What I can do while Mike is getting ready to go tomorrow. Oh, I think we got him right now. Folks, I think he's in the building now. Mike, are we good?
Yes, sir. I can hear you.
All right, folks, I got my man Mike Patton in the building. Welcome to the Sports Wave Network, Mike, and my show, Sports Corner with the Conn Man. It's an honor to have you on. I watched your show a little bit last night, and I've been watching you from afar, and I appreciate your knowledge and the things that you're doing. So it's a privilege to have you on. And you are the football expert. I'm the basketball expert, so I'm kind of learning as we go along as well. But before we get to that, Mike, what I wanted to do is I wanted to get your take on something because, my shows recently, besides sports, is I've been having guests on, and they've been talking about the mental aspect and the mind performance and things of that nature. And I think it's so important with the things that are going on in the country, the world, sports. And I saw something last week, and you touched upon it last night. And I want to get your feedback and your views and your, thoughts on. We had a very sad situation occurring with a young man who played at LSU. I think his name was Kyron Lacey. You touched upon it last night. For the viewers, first of all, before we go there, I want folks to know a little bit about you, your grind, your journey, what got you involved doing podcasting and things of that nature.
Well, honestly, just very much passionate about sports, very much wanted to talk about sports and, got told, hey, maybe you should write about it. So started writing about it. Then writing turned into podcasting literally like in 2020. And from there, I've been doing podcasting from there and, been, kind of creating my own content material along with writing, kind of off and on a little bit more writing for the last, 5 years together. So that's what kind of got me into it. Plus, I'm actually a former college football player. I played at, UT Martin is where I played football. So, so I'm actually a former college football player. So I could see the game from a couple different perspectives while I'm talking about the game as well.
And something that gives you an advantage because a lot of podcasters, let's keep it real, probably never been on the football field or a basketball court. I'm going to keep it 100. But anyway, it's great to have people who actually have played the sport to know what it's like, the ins and outs. And that's kind of why I want to lead up to the situation that happened last week. Can you, if you may, describe at least what your take is on it and the information that you have gathered, because it seems to be going all over the place. You know what I mean? And I'm going to get into what Ryan Clark said. I'm sure you know about that. But before we get into that, what is your take on exactly? You don't know exactly, but your feelings on what the situation, how it transpired, and what's going on with that right now. Let the viewers know a little bit about the individual. Player at LSU, had a promising professional career, Can you delve into that for us, please?
Yeah, Kyron Lacy was a guy that was going to be drafted. He was going to play in the NFL. Um, and all those dreams got dashed when he got accused of, killing an elderly man in that car accident. Basically, he was, charged. It marred his chances of playing in the NFL. Eventually, I believe he ended up ending his own life with a self-inflicted gun wound. Well, recently last week, it was announced or talked about that he was 72 yards away from where the actual incident happened. The police officer, it basically coerced the witness into saying the story that he thought the witness should say, as opposed to telling the truth. And essentially, an innocent man basically was charged for a crime, which would be Kyron Lacy.
That's exactly the same thing that I got as well. And maybe folks or viewers who are watching this right now, there was a Sports Center show after the football game where former NFL player Ryan Clark went on the air and probably made some comments that he probably regretted. And then this morning on the Stephen A. First Take show, he went on again and he apologized because he didn't find out all the facts. And I wanted to get your take on. Go ahead.
I listened to what he said. He actually was saying that Kyron Lacy was innocent on the show. That's why I was kind of confused what he was apologizing for. I'm like, what is he apologizing for?
That kind of caught me off guard.
He said he was innocent. And basically kind of explained the story, but somehow, some way, that was wrong for him to say that. I'm still kind of miffed as to why he had to apologize. Why he and Scott Van Pelt, by the way, had to apologize. To be honest, the young man did get, maybe he should have been charged with reckless driving, but he wasn't involved in the actual incident that actually killed this elderly man. So in its essence,
right,
Brian Clark was correct to say he was an innocent man. And I think where ESPN made him apologize is because his lawyer is the one that produced a lot of the different things, the video or the testimony or whatever it is that kind of led to that. So I think what ESPN's thinking about, you're getting involved in this case, as opposed to him just making a statement, which that's why I don't think he should have apologized, because he wasn't getting himself involved in the case. He was just simply stating remorse and sadness for the young man and the young man's family.
Now, there were some reports that he was driving the wrong way. Did you hear about that as well?
Yeah, even with that, he still wasn't involved in the accident. So, that's where I'm just like, even with that, he was driving the wrong way, whatever he was doing, he wasn't the one that actually was involved in killing this man. So, people can spin it all whatever way they want. Mm-hmm. If he wasn't involved in that, then, you talk about the reckless driving, fine. But you can't talk about him as being a killer of another man.
Now, obviously, you don't know this, but what made you think that he would take his own life, if what you're saying is true?
It's been kind of described a little bit more as basically from the different angles and the different things like that in terms of the police report, that it was a self-inflicted wound. So that's what the information we currently have right now. I would gladly say I would gladly love to be proven wrong that it was, wasn't a self-inflicted wound, but, just based upon the angles of the gun and things like that, or the angles of the insertion of the bullet, that's what was gathered at the scene when it came to him, unfortunately.
Okay. What I'd like to do, Mike, before we get into the AFC South, which is your specialty, I just want to get you, because, again, I'm the basketball guy, so I'm just trying to get a little bit more understanding from your experiences being a college player as well. two more things I want to bring up. Number one, Mr. Sanchez. What is your take on Mr. Sanchez? Because again, former athlete, had a great collegiate career, pretty good NFL career. Now he was doing very well with the sportscasting. I think he, was covering the NFL. He had game of the week every week, and the situation that he got into. What is your take on that?
He actually was drunk in the moment, and he jumped in business that wasn't his business. He thought he was the security in this situation, essentially, because it's at a hotel. I think it's a hotel he's staying at, and literally this guy is doing his job of picking up used oil in his truck, which is what he does, used cooking oil.
Oh,
And now Sanchez is trying to tell him basically he shouldn't park his truck there. Of course, at this point he's drunk, and he's kind of berating and going at the guy and not making the guy feel safe. And the guy is alarmed and scared, and the guy's coming, basically Sanchez is coming towards him, and he feels like threatened for his life. Because he's a 60-some-year-old man, and you have a former athlete who's not a short guy to begin with. So he sprayed him with pepper spray to kind of, because he was coming at him. Well, Sanchez shrugs it off with his, basically, I don't know how you shrug off pepper spray, but he did it. Wipes it off, keeps coming at him, tries to hit. He basically has him in a position where he's like beating up this man.
Wow.
So the man's like fearing for his life. So he had a knife on him. So he stabbed him to get him off of him like a few times. So that's how Mark Sanchez got stabbed. And it's crazy how this story went from, a sympathy story for Mark Sanchez to being a story of no. Mark Sanchez was the guy that was in the wrong here.
Yeah.
And the other guy was fearing for his life. And then you see the pictures of the 69-year-old man. He got a neck brace on. Yeah. He's got like, abrasions and things like that. It does not look good for him. And Mark Sanchez, this ought to be a prime example. If you're on the road or anything like that, if you're going to partake in some drinks, things like that, just stay in your room. Just stay in your room. Relax. Do what you do there. Because by with this, if that happens, he wouldn't have had that happen. And it is what it is now. And now he's got to face the consequences, which include, his charges being from misdemeanors at first to being arrested in the hospital and rose up to a felony. So he's probably if anything, he's going to lose his job. We know that. But
yes,
he's definitely going to be someone that he could do some time. He could actually do some time for this.
Mike, I definitely agree with you. I think that I don't know. Maybe not a lot, but there are some players who, after they retire, they do some crazy things. Like you said, if you're going to go and drink, go ahead. Stay in your hotel. Nothing good happens after midnight. We all know that. So, he had a great future ahead of him with broadcasting. Something he's pretty good at. I just don't know. One other thing I'm going to talk about before we get into your expertise, and I thank you for giving me your answers on that. There was a situation where there was a player, and he was running with the ball. Great run. I think you know where I'm going with this. Great run.
Yep.
And if I recall, Mike, maybe you can correct me. Just recently, prior to that, there was an individual who did the same damn thing, whereby now you as a college player, yes,
that'd be A.D. Mitchell for the Indianapolis Colts, and he actually is from the area. Okay. He actually played high school football his last year, literally like 5 or 10 minutes from where I live.
Wow. Okay, now I'm gonna hit you up because you're a college player. Now, I'm pretty sure after he did that the whole football world kind of got a glimpse of that. You as a football player, I want to ask you this. You done worked so hard, made a great run. Why in your mind would you feel like you want to drop the ball? Can you explain that to me and the viewers right quick?
All right, it's kind of kind of a little bit of showboating, things like that. But I wouldn't say it's necessarily showboating, but the thing that a lot of people do now is when they cross the goal line, they drop the ball and they do whatever dance they gonna do, things like that. Which I understand it. Hey, it's an emotional game. You're feeling the way you want to. You're feeling yourself just a little bit. But the thing is, you also got to make sure. In the words of Kenny the Jet Smith, you got to finish through the line. You got to finish through the line. And he didn't finish through the line. Neither one of them. A.D. Mitchell cost his team essentially the game in some instances. And of course, he cost himself some playing time because Shane Steichen is not very happy with him. This is the second year that he's not been very happy with A.D. Mitchell, by the way. But now you got Mercado running towards the goal line. Literally, all he has to do is score. He scores. Basically, the Cardinals win that game because it's far out of reach. But because he didn't finish through the tape, I meant to say finish through the tape, not finish through the line. That's what Kenny the Jet Smith said. You got to finish through the tape. And he didn't finish through the tape, and he opened the door for the Tennessee Titans to come back. So basically, I thought his coach, though, I will say this.
I was going to get into that.
I've coached before. And, I know coaches can be mad, things like that or whatever, but you can't hit up on your player like that. And then thing also, I would say this, if it was reversed and the player actually did that, that player would be thrown off the team. There would be no way that player will be playing again. There's only one exception to a player ever doing that and still playing. And that one player is in basketball, and his name was Latrell Sprewell. Other than that, I've never heard any player ever hit a coach and be able to play again. I've heard coaches get away with it, but I've never heard of players getting away with it. So that's why I'm saying don't put your hands on a player. And I've heard seen many former pro players like Marcus Spears and Nate Washington on social media talking about, hey, if that would have happened to me, we'd have been fighting. So yeah. So don't put your hand. I mean, I understand you hit them on the shoulder pads, stuff like that, or whatever. You get mad at them, fuss at them, whatever. You do what you do there. Yeah. But you don't put hands on people because, if it was reversed, that guy been lifting weights. I don't think Jonathan Gannon's been lifting very many weights. So,
I don't think so. I could be wrong. I don't think so. And the fact is, he done already messed up. So he's already heated. And now you're going to hit him? I'm surprised. He kept restraining himself from doing something that he would have regretted. So
he actually had to give applause to him because he actually stood in his locker and actually answered every single question, didn't move, run away from it, flinch, anything after that game. So I have to applaud him for, having the gumption, having the courage to stand in front of media and answer questions about what happened after the game and not running from the moment.
I definitely agree with that. Now, Mike, that I got you on, let's talk about what you follow, which is the AFC South. Why did you feel that it was imperative for you to cover the AFC South as opposed to just the NFL in itself?
Well, honestly, when I first started this journey in terms of doing podcasting, I actually was talking about the Tennessee Titans and would basically do the points and breaking down what they need to do to win the game in the first half. This was 2020. Everybody was inside. So I'm watching the game. Before the game, I'm giving you the points on what they need to do to win the game. After the game is off, I'm giving you the things they did to either lose the game or win the game and those points. So I'm doing that. And I did that throughout the entire season. And I was like, okay, I can't really talk about the Titans all year long. That's where my first point that I thought about.
Okay.
So I was like, okay, I don't really see anybody covering the AFC South. So maybe I can do that. I don't really see anybody that has a show specifically for this division. So I'm like, okay, cool. Maybe I can do that. Maybe I can find some people that cover these teams and all these different areas and things like that. And basically I built it up to reaching out to people who cover the Jacksonville Jaguars, finding people that cover the Houston Texans, finding people that cover the Colts. I knew people already that covered the Titans. So basically doing all that, excuse me. And then basically kind of finding everyone else that, made teams, people that or people that covered teams that were playing against the Titans or the Colts or the Jaguars or the Texans and kind of bringing them into the loop as well. So that's how I kind of built this podcast to basically be a podcast where the AFC South is the star and we are the players in terms of, playing the game, which is the AFC South on the podcast.
Awesome. And again, I checked out your show. It's fantastic. I mean, you do a great job as well. Now, getting to the AFC South. You're welcome. Well deserved. What is from let's go from the get-go. What did you anticipate? What were your expectations of who was gonna maybe not run away, but who would be the favorites to come out of the AFC South? And going into week 6 or week 5, what are your, I guess, surprises? Either way, negatively or positively. What in the AFC South?
Well, starting the season, I was like thinking, okay, it's going to be the Houston Texans probably win this division again. They've got the most talent and skill players. They've got a lot of talent and skill players. They've got a very, very good defense. And hey, CJ Stroud's the best quarterback in the division. That's literally what I was thinking going in. The Colts, I was kind of like, I don't know what's going to happen at quarterback. They do have some solid pieces and playmakers. I don't know what's going to happen there, so I don't know where to put them. I had them like in third. Jacksonville, I actually had them in second place. I was like, okay, they'll be, they have the potential to be better, or they're going to be boom or bust. They're good. I thought that of them, and I thought Tennessee, for what they had, I was like, yeah, they'll probably be in fourth place. Come to the entering week 6. Jacksonville and Indianapolis are tied for the first place in the division at 4-1. First of all, I don't think anybody had either one of these teams at 4-1 at this point in the season, which, right now the AFC South is kind of shaping up to not be necessarily a bad division as everyone thought it may be. Now, Jacksonville's still trying to figure things out offensively, but they do have a defensive player of the year candidate, Devin Lloyd, right now, who is leading the NFL right now in 4 interceptions, by the way, including that 99-yarder where he picked off Patrick Mahomes and ran it all the way back. As far as the Colts, I would say Daniel Jones, no one expected him to be as great as he's been so far. I mean, honestly, he's one of the top you'd be crazy not to put him within your top 5 or top 6 quarterbacks right now in the NFL in terms of how he's performing. So I can say that about him right now in terms of how he's performing. He's protecting the football. He had one game that was off against the Rams, of course. But other than that, he's been surgical. And I actually got to see him live and in person when he played against the Titans. And honestly, I thought I was watching a different quarterback because he's actually standing in the face of pressure and actually dropping the ball between like different layers, like the cover 2, where you got to drop it between the cornerback and the safety. He's doing that. He's scrambling. He's doing all these different things. And I'm like, okay, where was this at when he was in New York? It just, you never saw these things. So I'm like, okay, yeah, he's for real now. So that's what I didn't expect. And, obviously the Texans, the last couple of games, they've rebounded and been better. But, for the most part, their offense has been kind of a little suspect, especially the O-line. And then for the Titans, they're still trying to figure things out. You see glimpses of what they can be, but haven't consistently turned the light switch on to what, they could potentially be, because they have the least margin of error for any of the teams in the AFC South to win games. So they have to have the light switch on just a little bit more than what the other teams do. And they finally kind of turned it on a little bit in the fourth quarter, as you saw when they came back, even though they had a couple bounces go their way, as they would say. But you saw the light switch come on with Cam Ward and Calvin Ridley, Chega Kwanko, and Gunnar Helm, and all those different weapons that they do have. Now, by the way, people will probably tell me that they don't have weapons. Yes, the Titans do have weapons. Calvin Ridley is a weapon. Alec Alexander is a weapon.
Oh, absolutely.
Gunnar Helm's a weapon. Chega Kwanko is a weapon. You saw the glimpses of what all those guys can be. It's just a matter of, can they play at those levels at all time, and can Cam Ward play at that level at all time to get them the football? So, I say all that to say, you predict things before the season, and then the season comes and it says, hey, watch this. And that's basically what the Colts, the Titans, Texans, and Jaguars have done in the first 5 weeks of the season leading to week 6.
So I guess we cannot call Danny Dimes anymore. We might have to call him Danny Dollars the way he's been playing, right?
Look, I would say anything's better than calling him Indiana Jones, which some fans are calling him Indiana Jones.
Yeah.
And I'm like, look, That is disrespectful to Harrison Ford. Let Harrison Ford
That is
have it.
terrible.
Come up with something new for Daniel Jones.
Yeah.
Don't call him Indiana Jones. I'm like, that's just so disrespectful to Harrison Ford to me.
And you know what? He's got a great backfield too. Taylor is no joke. You know what I mean? So I mean, the Colts, I don't know. I mean, right now, like you said, they're 4-1. Who do you think out of the remaining schedule, what team has, I guess, the easiest way to go in the AFC South?
I haven't really gotten to the schedules that deep into it, but I will tell you
I
that
haven't
Colts
either. That's why
fans,
I'm asking you.
oh yeah. I haven't really gotten to it that deep into it. I usually take it week by week, but I will say the Colts probably have one of the more difficult schedules going forward. They still have to face the Texans twice. They still have to face the Jaguars twice, and they've only faced the Titans in the division so far. So the Texans are kind of starting to round into shape just a little bit more. The AFC South does have to face the AFC West this year and the NFC West, so they haven't played all of those games either. So, yeah, they have a tough schedule going forward. I mean, I would say the Titans, they have a pretty tough schedule too. They still have to see the Seahawks, the Chiefs, among other teams. So, there's a lot of different things going on, but I would say the Colts probably have the hardest schedule. The Texans, I would say they've seen, a few different pieces so far, or a few different players so far. They've got a very good break with facing a Ravens team that is battered and bruised. So and a bye week, by the way, as well, to kind of get themselves together and work on a few things. Despite the rough start, they're 2-3 now, so they still can bounce back. So I would say, the Colts have the toughest schedule if I'm looking at it. But all of them still got to play pieces in the AFC South, in the AFC West and the NFC West. So neither one of them has a cupcake schedule at all.
That's why the reason why I brought it up, because in another division, the 49ers preseason, they were labeled as having the easiest schedule, and it's so far it seems to be panning out. Do you know what I mean? So far, with San Francisco 49ers.
They were looking at the AFC South as being like a walkthrough division. That's why. I can tell you that's probably why.
Okay. I didn't know. That's kind of why I'm glad you're on the show to straighten that part out. But what is like the resurgence of quarterbacks who've been kicked to the curb and now coming back? I'm not just talking about AFC South, but you got Danny Dollar, you got Baker Mayfield, you got these guys who are playing. You got
Sam Darnold.
Matt Jones. You got, what I mean? So, do you think it's the system, the culture? What do you think is contributed to these guys who've been damn near kicked to the curb have a great resurgence? In Baker Mayfield's in the MVP running. What do you think about that?
Yeah, honestly, looking at it, those guys do all have skills. Of course, let's not say that they don't all have skills. Now, even though I do agree with Bomani Jones a lot, saying Sam Darnold, because it could potentially be the same Sam Darnold we saw a couple years back before he got to Minnesota at some point. But hey, at this point, he's playing very, very good football. But I would say it's a combination of the system, combination of the guys being talented, and also just a hint of people going through things, because when you go through things and you go through multiple systems, you learn a few things. For example, Danny Dimes was talking about, see, I go call him Danny Dimes. Anyway, Daniel Jones was going through talking about when he left New York and when he went to Minnesota, and he was talking about how the ultimate preparation with Kevin O'Connell and how they prepared and things like that, and quizzed each other in the quarterback room and all that. And he said he had never experienced anything like that. And essentially that's what propelled him to where he is now with the Colts. I think when you go through different quarterback rooms and you go through different places, like, for example, Baker Mayfield was with the Los Angeles Rams after he was with the Carolina Panthers, and he was with Sean McVay. So you go with a guy that kind of, coaches quarterbacks and has a culture for cultivating quarterbacks that can actually, set you up for future success, even if it isn't for that team. For example, Sam Darnold, Kevin O'Connell, same thing. You got Mac Jones. He's with Kyle Shanahan, which same thing there. So, when you're with someone that cultivates quarterbacks, or you've been with someone that cultivates quarterbacks, you take a few things with you, and notice those quarterbacks took a few things with them, learned a few things, and actually were in a system that fits what they do best and highlights what they do best, as opposed to making them try to be the ultimate weapon back there. Because with all these teams, they have like at least a solid running game, a solid short to medium game. With the 49ers, I'll give you this. Mac Jones, you want to know what's the key to his success and what it's been in terms of Mac Jones? Just watching him, it's been the short pass game. You notice they don't really throw very many passes past 10 yards with Mac Jones. They haven't at all. They basically throw it to receivers and let them get yardage afterwards. He's making quick decisions, and he's getting rid of the football. So those are the three things that are happening for Mac Jones to make him successful. If he was in another system where he had to hold the ball and different things like that, maybe something different. But Kyle Shanahan knows what he's doing in terms of accentuating the things that Mac Jones does well and keeping him out of trouble. Of course, he's going to have a glitch in the matrix every now and again, but he just hasn't done that so far to kind of poo-poo the whole game. So that's where I think having a quarterback coach or a coach that can cultivate quarterbacks has helped all of them, either where they currently are or where they are in now. And that combination of that talent, being comfortable in the system, and being someone that cultivate their talents and make them feel comfortable in who they.
I think Shanahan, what they call him, the quarterback whisperer. I think he's been very successful with the quarterbacks that he's had over the course of his coaching career as well. But I'd be remiss, Mike, if I did not ask you about this individual. I had to, because I want to get your take on this, and then we can fall back into the AFC South before we have to go. There's a player who ended up, I guess at one point, was considered to be maybe first pick in the draft, maybe top 10. But he fell down to 144th pick in the NFL draft. He has, I guess he has some family member who might be well known for, I'm going with this. Anyway, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. We got Shedeur Sanders. Right now, Cleveland traded Flacco, seems like recently. And now he didn't move up to quarterback. He hasn't been named anyway to be the second quarterback on Cleveland. They got some guy named Zappy, who I recall played for the Patriots, and whoever else he played for, I don't even know. Now, I want to pick your brain on this one. Why would Cleveland take two quarterbacks in the NFL draft? And why would they potentially have 4 or 5 on their team?
Here we go. As far as this one, of course, Deshaun Watson's out for the season, retore his Achilles, he's done. Then you bring in Joe Flacco, you bring in Kenny Pickett, then you draft Dylan Gabriel, and you draft Shedeur Sanders. To me, what it seemed like is they had a logjam of quarterbacks. They drafted one quarterback and intended on drafting one quarterback. And then what they did is also, whether it be the ownership or whether it be the general manager that wanted Shedeur Sanders, and boom, there he goes. There it happens. So now you have Shedeur Sanders on your team, and one doesn't want him on the team while the other one does. So that's hence where Shedeur kind of finds himself. Kenny Pickett, they kind of figured Kenny Pickett was hurt pretty much the entire preseason, so he made it easy for them to trade him. And now with Flacco, they weren't winning any games and they weren't looking any better, so you may as well give the young guys a shot. So that's where it kind of fell into where they are now. You got Bailey Zappi, who's a practice squad guy, essentially. They're talking about, him potentially being the number 2 quarterback over Shedeur. And all I got to say is, Kevin O'Connell, quit playing. Please quit playing. Shedeur Sanders, put him as the number 2 quarterback because we've seen Bailey Zappi outside of New England for that last like 5 games he played, and he was looking pretty good. You know, they were talking about, oh, he's going to challenge Mac Jones for the starting quarterback. Well, we saw what happened. Neither one of them is in New England because neither one of them played well enough to keep that starting job. So if you really think that he's the backup over Shedeur, a guy that you have never seen in the NFL in a regular season game, then you go right ahead. But you know, the seat is not getting any cooler in Cleveland for Kevin O'Connell anyway. So, you know, if you feel like that's what you want to do, fine. But, you know, honestly, I think Shedeur essentially is going to get a chance to be the starting quarterback at some point in this season. Kevin O'Connell can keep denying it all he wants, but it's going to happen.
One more final question before we get back into the AFC South. Because, you know, I want to pick your brain because, you know, I'm like a sponge. I'm taking it all in, Mike. So, you know, if your team is 4-1 and, you know, there's all kind of speculation about the coach getting fired and upheaval with your team that you had to call a private meeting with 3 individuals. What's your take on the Eagles? And will they, because last year they had the same kind of situation and look what happened. So do you think it's an issue or they're going to get their act together? And I mean, we're going to find out very soon because they're playing the Giants. So we're going to find out pretty soon about that. But do you think it's an issue or you just think, you know, they'll get it together?
I mean, honestly, I think they'll figure it out. Honestly, the players aren't really the issue here. The issue here is the offensive coordinator and him finding balance in what he wants to do offensively. Let me give you a prime example of this. Okay. The game against Tampa Bay, they basically run. Jalen Hurts doesn't complete a pass in the second half. He's 0 for 8 in the second half. They win the game 31-25. The next week, they come out and they face the Denver Broncos. I guess they want to show they can pass the football. They pass the football. They're up 17-0. The problem is in the second half of the game, Saquon Barkley has one more carry than we and you both have on last Sunday, which that's a problem. Yeah, that's a problem in itself. There's no way that he should only have one carry in the second half of any game, let alone in a game or a quarter. He should only. There's no way. But here is where we have the issue. You have a coordinator that cannot adjust when it comes to time to adjust. In the first half, he made a great adjustment coming out slinging the football because the Broncos weren't ready for it. But when the Broncos adjusted and Vance Joseph took the pressure that he was bringing, kind of backed it off, that was the perfect time to go to the run and Saquon Barkley. But yet again, he's over here trying to prove a point. Hey, I can pass with this team too. And you lose the game. But that's the issue I have. And then also you have to involve Hurts in the running game more. They're not involving him in the running game enough to me. And that's an issue in its own right. But altogether, they're talented enough where they can still beat you and still have these issues. I don't think it's necessarily a problem with the dynamic of the team. I think it's more of a problem with the dynamic of the offensive coordinator getting it together. Of course, you're going to have players that are going to say or whatever and do different things because they're passionate players and they're competitive players. But ultimately, their main goal is to win. And then I think in the end, they can focus enough to win ball games. But the offensive coordinator's got to get it figured out because if he doesn't get it figured out, he's going to get them papers like Usher said in that song back in the day.
Now, Mike, just getting back to the AFC South, which is your expertise, who do you think is going to come out of it?
Honestly, right now, I got to say the Colts are the more complete team. They can run the football. They can throw the football. They can throw for, the first downs, things like that. You guys like your Pittmans, but they can also get the explosive plays with your Warrens, your Downses, and your Alec Pierces as well. Defensively, they're steady. I will say they do have an issue with not having one dominant pass rusher, but they do have a collection of pass rushers that get the job done. You have DeForest Buckner, big guy, about 6'7" inside. He's a veteran. He's still very, very effective. You have a good linebacker core, and you also have a secondary that Lou Anaromo, who is the new defense coordinator, has been a breath of fresh air for the Indianapolis Colts, the defensive coordinator. He's bringing things from all different angles, and that's making that defense even more unpredictable, which last year with Gus Bradley, you knew where they were going to be at all times, which made it very predictable what you could do to them each and every game. This year, you can't do that, and it's made that defense even better. I will say not better in terms of, giving up a ton of points or giving up, because in the big games, unfortunately, they've given up points, more points than probably they want to. However, they are a more dynamic defense in terms of being able to make plays when they need to make plays. So I think the Colts will take a dynamic defense that can make plays when they need to make plays over a defense that, is going to just be standing in one place the entire game. And it's actually made some of the pieces of their team better. So I would say the Colts are the best team. But right now, the Jaguars are a team that just consistently can, finding ways to win games. They just have to figure things out what they're going to be offensively. And Liam Cohen, it's going to be a process with him offensively to figure out, Trevor Lawrence still having the roller coaster ride every single game. I know that Jags fans hate for me to say that, but it is a roller coaster ride with him every single game. You have Brian Thomas Jr., who's still trying to figure out his role in this offense. You're still trying to figure out Travis Hunter. ETN has done great in the running game, which the running game is ranked top 10 in the NFL, not top 5. It was top 5 before the Chiefs game. So, definitely, and their defense is making plays. I mean, they had 14 takeaways this year. Last year, they had only 9 the entire season. So, And then they just traded for Greg Newsome from the Cleveland Browns and got rid of Tyson Campbell, which to me, that was a great trade because you now have a playmaker at the cornerback position where Tyson Campbell is a guy that, he was on a long interception-less streak that Jacksonville fans were actually keeping up with. So now you've got a guy that actually can intercept passes and make things happen. Okay. Now you've got a corner that can definitely give a little juice to that secondary. So I would say Jacksonville, you do got to keep an eye on them. But right now, the Colts are the more complete team in the AFC South.
Folks, this is why I have Mike Patton on my show. He's giving you guys so much knowledge, and it's great that you're coming on my show. For the viewers who may or may not know about you, how can they watch your show? How can they get, look you up? Because after this, I'm sure they will. You know what I mean? So let the viewers know how they can watch your great, fantastic show.
Well, you can watch it on you watch it on YouTube at the Mike Patton Network. Touring the AFC South. I've got 3 different podcasts actually. I didn't know if you knew that or not, but I have 3 different podcasts that I actually do. Yes, I actually have one. I have one is with Touring the AFC South is my main podcast. I've done that one for over 362 episodes so far. Usually could be on like Tuesday and Thursdays or Tuesday and Fridays. I have one called This Woman Works, which basically the basis of that show is to highlight and elevate Black women by having them come on the show and talk about their journeys from where they started to where they are now. That show is about 50 plus episodes. Been doing that one for a year. And that's once a week. I usually do that one. And then the other one is called Let's Talk HBCUs with my co-host, Scott Wallace. We just started that one this summer. We've had like Nolan Smith, who's the new head coach at Tennessee State University, former Dookie. Yeah, we've had him on the show, along with some other guests as well. And we're kind of trying to grow that show as well, kind of through football season, basketball season, and beyond, talking about HBCU sports. So, yeah, I've got all those. You can find those on the Mike Patton Network on YouTube. Where you can go and click the bell, subscribe, and they're all in different playlists as well. So if you want to look up a specific show, you can actually look up on the little playlist that I have on YouTube as well. So got those there. And I will say that Touring the AFC South and This Woman Works are actually those are actually on all listening platforms, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, you name it, they're there. And Let's Talk HBCUs is actually exclusively for YouTube. So that one is exclusively there. Do you want me to tell them where they can find me on social media as well? I got that too for you.
Let's go.
All right. Well, you can find me, on the artist formerly known as Twitter, which, I'm not going to call it X because the only X I recognize is DMX and Malcolm X. So sorry, I'm not going to call it that. You can find me on there at Mike Patton 82. That's MikePatton 82. You can find me on Instagram and Threads at that's THA, not THE _general_MP. Did miss Blue Sky. I am on there at Mike Patton 82. And then also you can find, like I mentioned, all these podcasts on the Mike Patton Network on YouTube or on all listening platforms: Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, you name it, we're there. I respond. I do actually reply, people. So, it isn't a bot or anyone else. It is me. I will say I will be on vacation next week, so there will be no shows next week. But when I come back from vacation, I got a nice list of special guests that I will be bringing on the show.
Well, Mike, thank you so much for coming on my show. I did not know you had all these things going on. So, I'm honored for you.
Actually, right too. So,
here we go
too for
again.
the actually right too. I write too. Actually, I'm a contributing writer for the Sporting News. I actually talk about the AFC South and the Tennessee Titans and all different teams there.
Wow.
Also, I actually do sports history in Black for the National Association of Black Journalists, Black News and Views website. So that's actually something that actually gets posted 5 days a week. So I do that too, and there'll be some more coming too. Probably some more writings on HBCUs, probably coming about the next couple weeks at another place.
Bruh, that is phenomenal. I'm speechless now. Well, again, Mike, thank you for coming on my show. Towards the end of the season, I would like to have you back on. We can revisit what we talked about this evening. You've been a great guest, and I gained so much knowledge and seeing your insight that you have on the AFC South, and I try to pick your brain about the NFL landscape, and of course, you were outstanding as well. Folks, again, tell them one more time how they can get in touch with you and see your shows. One more time. Right. One more time.
Right. Just okay. All right. So on YouTube, it's Mike Patton Network. You can find it there. Just look up Touring the AFC South. It'll lead you right to my page. Of course, if you want to see any clips or anything like that, the shows, or talk to me on social media, you can find me on Instagram at CHA, not THE_general_MP, and I'm also on Threads, the same one. And on Twitter, you can find me at Mike Patton 82 as well. So yeah, you can find me there. I'm always around. I don't duck any smoke. I run towards it. So they holler at me.
Well, you know what, Mike? I'm definitely gonna hit you up when we talk NBA. Now I'll be the one that you can learn something from when we get into the NBA talk. But anyway,
I can talk. Here's the thing that nobody knows or nobody talks about. I actually can talk probably NBA backwards and forwards too. So.
Oh, yeah. That's going to be a great show.
I just choose to do football.
All right, Mike. Thank you for coming on my show. God bless you, and take care and good luck in all your endeavors.
All right, thank you. Thank you for having me on.
You got it, folks. That was my guy Mike Patton coming on my show, Sports Corner with the Conn Man on the Sports Wave Network. I had no idea he was doing all that. See, folks, you never know. You never know. I checked him out on the show, and you see what he's doing now, writing for the Sport News. He's doing NABC, Black colleges. He's doing this and doing that. He got all kind of podcasts going on. See, folks, that's why I love doing what I do, because I find these people, and they come on my show, and then, I get the opportunity to have them express themselves, and look what happens. Mike Patton, man, look out for that guy, man, because he knows his stuff. He's very knowledgeable, and captivated my interest, because I'm not as literate in football, as basketball. But folks, again, I want to thank you guys for tuning in, and thank my guest, Mike Patton, and we got some good things coming on as well. Not as much as Mike Patton, but we're going to be doing the damn thing. And we got some great shows coming up. Matter of fact, we got 2 shows tomorrow night, which is going to be fantastic. And then after that, it's off the hook. But anyway, folks, I want to thank you for tuning in to the Sports Wave Network. I'm going to say it again, the Sports Wave Network and Sports Corner with the Conn Man. I am the Conn Man. I want to give a shout out to my producer, Key Williams, who I called or texted last minute to have 2 shows on Thursday, and she's incredible. So, folks, keep tuning to my show, and we're going to be doing the damn thing. Folks, you have a great night. God bless. Stay safe.